This is the Mexico Revealed podcast.
Welcome to the Mexico Revealed podcast. We're back with episode,
I don't know, I'm losing
5?
track. 5, something like that.
5.
Hola, hola, hola.
Bienvenidos.
Glad to have our listeners back, huh? We're pumping out some more episodes. And very excited to have a very special guest as a participant on this episode of the Mexico Revealed podcast. And maybe we should let Melissa introduce our very special guest. You want to do that, Melissa?
Sure. So about a year and a half ago, I got married to Mike, and he's on our podcast today.
Woohoo!
Yay!
Welcome, Mike.
Virus wedding. They made it.
Yep.
Yep.
Milagro.
Yeah, thank you for having me on here. I'm excited to be on this podcast.
We're glad to have you, Mike. You're our very first guest to participate in the Mexico Revealed podcast. So that's a milestone.
Lucky duck.
Lucky duck. I don't know if it's good or torture, but thank you for being our guest.
Of course.
So Mike and Melissa got married in June of 2020 in the middle of coronavirus. So that's a whole other podcast episode probably. But but Mike, before you married Melissa, you had never been to Mexico, correct?
Correct. I've never been to Mexico. There was one time my family planned a trip to go to Cancun. However, it was right when Hurricane Katrina hit there, and we had to change our plans, and we went to New York instead. So I never went to Mexico ever until I met Melissa.
But you've done some traveling, right? So it's not like you haven't traveled around, just not Mexico.
Yeah, correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's been to a lot of countries, exotic ones too.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Lived in Germany for a while as well. But so before you married Melissa, you knew that Melissa had lived in Mexico, right?
Yes, I did know there was quite the Mexican influence, and Melissa and Mexico go hand in hand, 2 peas in the pod.
It's kind of hard for him to not know because it's like a really big part of me.
Yeah. So as a result of that, you've been married for how long now?
About a month or a year and 4 months.
About a year and 4 months. And even with coronavirus raging and everything, how many times have you been to Mexico now, Mike?
Within 6 months, we've been to Mexico 3 times.
So within a 6-month time frame.
Yeah, within a 6-month time frame, 3 times.
Great. So I know you knew Melissa had lived in Mexico and she speaks Spanish and all that sort of stuff, but did you expect that you had traveled to Mexico this much when you married Melissa?
No, I had no clue. I figured we'd probably go maybe once every few years or so, but I did not think we would go this often. So it's been quite a treat, and it's been great.
So tell us, you mentioned you've been to Mexico 3 times during that 6-month period. So 3 times since you married Melissa. So where in Mexico have you been?
The first time we went to Mexico was over Christmas, and we went to Playa del Carmen, Cancun area, and that was wonderful. The second time, it was just Melissa and I, and we went to Puerto Vallarta in the springtime. And then our last time was to Mexico City, and all 3 very unique experiences, and all great experiences and very unique to themselves.
It's a good variety right there, isn't it? Yeah, good mix.
West Coast and right in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Melissa, did you warn him before you got married, hey, you know what, you marry me, you're going to be going to Mexico a lot?
Well, I mean, I didn't know it was going to be 3 times in 6 months, but I knew that I wanted to take him to Mexico because that's, I grew up the majority of my early childhood there, so I wanted him to experience it. So But yeah, it's great.
And then sometime, Melissa, you'll have to go to Germany with Mike.
Yeah.
So that you can Sie Deutsch.
Yeah.
That'd be good. Although Melissa has been to Germany, at least.
Yeah, but not with
We
Mike.
haven't-
It's different.
Yeah.
It's more
Other
romantic
parts.
with Mike.
Right.
Yeah.
The romantic road.
Yes.
So Caroline is in the dating world. Do you warn potential boyfriends about your Mexico connection, Caroline, or anything like that?
Yeah. Yep.
It is
And if you're listening, you know who you are.
fully warned, huh?
What about Sam? Yeah.
Sam,
What did you say? No, he's not going to answer that. Okay.
What?
Sam's
What do you
not gonna-
mean?
Sam's
Answer
not gonna-
what?
If you tell people that you are connected to Mexico.
Yeah, I mean, all my friends know. Yeah,
and
Okay.
girls.
there's nothing wrong with it. Yeah, I lived in Mexico
there's
for 7
nothing
years.
wrong.
Fun fact.
It's awesome. It makes it more interesting.
All right. Well, that sounds good. So we're going to talk a little bit more with Mike here about some of his impressions about traveling to Mexico. But before we do that, we're going to introduce a new segment into our podcast, which I think should be a lot of interest to our listeners. And that segment is called Mexico Travel Update. So we're going to share a few sort of recent things in the news that related to Mexico travel that we think are interesting. And Melissa, Caroline, and Sam all have a few things to share with us. So maybe we'll start with Melissa. Melissa, you want to share with us your first item of the Mexico travel update?
Sure. So my update is about travel award winners in the Latin America world. So, Latin America is really big. There are a lot of countries, and some of the beginning countries that they talk about are like Argentina, with South America's leading destination, Chile, Peru, but this is a Mexico Revealed podcast. So the main ones that Mexico won out of these awards were Mexico celebrated with a raft of destination awards, including Cancun, which got them Mexico and Central America's leading beach destination, Cozumel, which won them Mexico and Central America's leading island destination, and Mazatlan, which won them Mexico and Central America's leading city destination, with its tropical neoclassical architecture and paradise beach.
Which city was that? Mazatlan?
Mazatlan. So Cancun, Cozumel, and Mazatlan got 3 big main awards for Mexico and Central America.
Cancun and Cozumel, they're pretty close. That's what, 30-minute boat ride, maybe 40 minutes.
Take the ferry.
Right there next to each other.
But one of them got beach and one of them got island. So
and Mazatlan, interesting. We've been to Mazatlan, although we haven't explored it too much.
That was the one with the jellyfish.
Yeah, that's like all I remember.
Huge jellyfish.
Yeah, we were there in the summer when the water was really warm, so you had a lot of jellyfish floating around.
Yeah, so pro tip, if you're going to go to Mazatlan, check to see when the jellyfish season is before you go.
Yeah, I think in the summer. But I remember driving through the town, but we didn't really explore it much, did we? So as far as like the colonial aspects and things, we'll have to try that some other time. But interesting. Well, good. Thank you, Melissa. That's a good news item. Okay, Caroline, what's your contribution to the Mexico travel update?
Yeah, earlier Mike mentioned that his family tried to go to Cancun, and then when that wasn't happening with Hurricane Katrina, they changed their plan to go to New York City, which is interesting because New York City and Cancun are the number 1 and number 2 travel destinations in the world during the holidays. So Mexico, it's great. It's right at the top of the list with Cancun, and then Cabo and Puerto Vallarta all at the top of the list for beach destinations during the holidays, and I think overall favorite destinations for tourists during the holidays.
Now that's that's based on an analysis of where people are making their travel plans, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Because they want to go somewhere warm.
Mm-hmm.
New York City isn't warm.
And
No.
who is
New York
it?
City has the charm of Christmas.
Right.
And I think they broke it out between domestic travel, and these are for Americans, right? Domestic travel destinations versus international travel destinations. And tell me, doesn't it say, Caroline, that there was somebody like looked at the actual bookings or something like that?
I think so.
I like going
so
to
Alliance Partners.
We're not going to Mexico. We're not going to Mexico for Christmas.
Alliance Partners analyzed 2.3 million travel itineraries with round-trip flights departing from U.S. airports. So the number 1 international was Cancun, right? But what was it? What else was in the top 10, Caroline?
Cabo and Puerto Vallarta.
Those were number 1, 2, and 3.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Pretty good.
You sweeped the podium.
Yeah.
Nice, Mexico.
But people like the beach, don't they? And the most convenient beach for Americans is Mexico. No?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Caroline. That's good information. I'm glad to see Mexico is up there at the tops of the charts for holiday travel. Okay, Sam, you want to share with us the third news item?
Yeah, sure. So just 2 days ago, on October 28th, Travel Pulse released a new article talking about the new Ritz-Carlton in Mexico City. And in Ritz-Carlton's being introduced into Mexico City, and what makes it so special is that it's 58 stories tall, so it towers along the biggest skyscrapers, and the 3 main resources that were used to build it were glass, metal, and mirrors. And why those materials are so important is because it incorporates Mexico City's culture and hospitality into the actual building itself. It faces Chapultepec Park, and it's overall just an amazing, from what I've read, it's an amazing place to stay if you go to Mexico City.
Nice.
Right. Or if you can't afford to stay there, because that's an expensive one.
Yeah.
Then maybe we could just walk in the lobby or order a hot chocolate or something.
I was looking at hotels in Mexico City recently, and the Ritz-Carlton popped up on my search. And it actually wasn't too bad in terms of the rates. It was about, I don't know, something like $340 a night or something like that. So obviously not a,
Holiday Inn Express?
affordable option, but not ridiculously expensive either. So it was in that $300 to $350 sort of range, which isn't too bad. And I've seen where that is. I mean, I've never been there, it's new, but it's right next to the Torre Mayor. You kids remember the Torre Mayor?
On Reforma?
Yeah, on Reforma, and right there by the Chapultepec Castle.
I think when we went there to Mexico City a couple months ago and we went to Chapultepec Castle, you could see it like being built from there.
Yeah, I think the sign was up on the building, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I guess it's open now. And it used to be that the main place of the tall, fancy hotels in Mexico City was in Polanco, right by, also close to the park. but close to the Auditorio Nacional, where you had the Hotel Nico, which we are all familiar with, right? Do you remember?
Yes.
You guys remember staying in the Hotel Nico?
First landing into Mexico.
Mm-hmm. Although it's now the Hyatt Regency, so it's changed from the Hotel Nico to the Hyatt Regency. And then next to that, you had the Intercontinental Presidente Chapultepec. And then next to that, you have the JW Marriott. And then you have a W Hotel, just kind of all in a row there in Polanco. But now you're getting some newer fancy hotels on Reforma, a little bit further towards downtown from those hotels. So going more into the business district, I guess. And for a long time, you've had the Four Seasons right in that area. Do you remember that, Marianne, the Four Seasons?
Yes.
And
I think because last time we went by there, it was all scaffolded, full of construction going on.
Yeah, it might be. There's a lot of construction going on in that area. But they have the Four Seasons has been right there for a long time. And they've built some of these new towers. And a little bit ago, they built a St. Regis right near there. And now there's a Ritz-Carlton in that area. So it's becoming another little kind of hotel center in Mexico City. And then, of course, you have Santa Fe with a lot of the hotels there. But Santa Fe tends to be more business travelers, I think, than either Polanco or the Reforma area. Although I'm sure you get lots of business travelers there too. But Santa Fe's, I think, even more so probably. But anyway, good news item. Thank you, Sam and Caroline and Melissa. Thank you for your contributions to our very first Mexico Travel Update segment. Woohoo! All right. Okay, so now let's get back to the main topic, which is a newcomer's impression of Mexico. So, Mike, coming back to you, tell us a little bit more about that. Your first time was going down to Playa del Carmen with us, which was, if I remember, that was Caroline's #1 beach pick in our podcast, our first episode, right, Caroline?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, Mike, on your trip, we were going to Playa del Carmen. We flew into Cancun. What were your first impressions?
Well, my first thought, my first real experience in Mexico was in the airport in Cancun and seeing the massive line of people having to go through customs that just got off the flight, probably from America, and having to wait there for several hours going through that line. And it's sweaty, it was hot and humid. And yeah, so I mean, it was probably just crazy during the holidays and people were trying to get out, and it was kind of at the end of 2020. So people were trying to travel again some more. And that was kind of eye-opening, seeing how many people were just all right there in the airport trying to get through customs. And after that, I think the biggest impression across all the trips from Cancun to Mexico City, especially Mexico City, and to Puerto Vallarta is the driving. And we rented a car in Cancun, and I'm just so glad that I didn't do any of the driving, because it is definitely not my style, and it's very, very different, very unique, and it's hard. And
I mean, it's crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I would not.
No lanes. Just kidding. There's lanes.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Lanes are suggestions, though, right, Caroline?
You make your own lanes.
Yeah.
Everything is a suggestion.
That's true.
Yeah, so I'd be more so probably Mexico City, experiencing the big city like that. But yeah, driving is crazy. And, you know, right coming from the airport and coming right in and then getting a car and driving on the streets, I didn't really expect the freeways to be like kind of like ground level and like right next to all these buildings. It didn't really feel like a freeway. And like people are walking across the street trying to sell you things. But yeah, it was really interesting, really unique, and not like any other country I've ever seen before.
Yeah, that's like a whole market when you get those traffic jams on the freeway to when it's slowed down or stopped. Yeah. That's when you can buy your peanuts, your water, your candies. Your
Flowers.
flowers. That's when I get gardenias. That's the best time.
Yeah.
Mom gets trapped. She falls for it.
For the gardenias.
Flowers.
Only for the
They're awesome.
flowers.
Yeah.
That's right. So, Mike, you don't speak Spanish. So how was it showing up there not knowing any Spanish? Because we all speak Spanish, so we're kind of used to that now. But for you, just being an English speaker, and well, you speak German as well, but as a non-Spanish speaker, how did you feel?
I felt like I definitely needed Melissa by my side to kind of guide me as far as like, you know, the culture and kind of like the way that people do things. And I definitely needed somebody to like tell me what to do, kind of explain some things, especially like ordering at restaurants or, you know, going around the city. That was definitely a big help. As far as just being a non-Spanish speaker, you could probably get by if you're just, you know, at a hotel on a beach. People are going to speak some English there. But, you know, if you're going to venture out and like kind of explore some other outskirts, you definitely need some Spanish under your belt.
Spanish helps.
Yeah.
Although, Mike, I will say that by the end of that Mexico City trip, you were ordering all by yourself in Spanish.
That's true. Mike, he knows some key words that
Taco.
are very good.
Yeah.
You've got talent for language.
Yeah.
Dos tacos.
Dos tacos, por favor.
Donde es la baño?
El baño.
Well, I know. Hey, don't correct my grammar.
Sorry, I'm just taking a grammar Spanish class right now in college, and it's just ingrained in my head.
Yeah. El. That's right. So what about the place that we stayed there in Playa del Carmen and the beach? What was your impression of that?
Yeah, the beach in Playa del Carmen was fantastic. It was really soft sand. If I remember right, it was more of like a whiter color, kind of a pure color. It seemed like the sand. The water was really warm compared to, you know, most places you can go to an ocean, and kind of reminds me. One trip I stayed at was on the Gulf Coast of Florida, and you know, you're right kind of in that area, and the water's really warm, the sand's fantastic, and yeah, it was really peaceful too. We went to a place where it wasn't super crowded, so you weren't fighting over beach property, and you could get a chair, you could go underneath a palm tree if you wanted to, and yeah, it was really great.
So what about the food? We did both restaurants, and we also went to the grocery store. What were your impressions on that?
The grocery store.
Yeah, the grocery store is interesting. I remember one impression I had. I remember going to the grocery store one time and seeing like all the meats out and about. You know, like all kind of meat stacked together, like on a table. I like the pastries, the bakeries they have in there. Those are great. The restaurants, you know, when people say like Mexican food or like Mexican restaurants, people are going to think, you know, tacos, enchiladas, burritos. They're going to think that. But, you know, we had a great experience with just eating like, you know, Mexican food that wasn't necessarily tacos or burritos. You know, you got some other things as well. And I'm forgetting the dish right now, but what was that first meal we had in Mexico City? Kind of like by our Airbnb in that little mall. It was like kind of like a soup thing.
El Bajío.
Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah, like that stuff's really good too.
That was the consomme de pollo, right, Marianne? Wasn't that?
And then you put in like fresh onion, fresh cilantro, fresh
avocado.
Yeah,
that's good stuff.
And kind of going back to Playa del Carmen, you know, you're right on the ocean, and you get a lot of great seafood as well. You can get fish, and yeah.
And just to clarify, the grocery store where you saw all the meat out, I think that's not like, maybe in the markets when you drive through the Zocalo, you can see all the meat hanging. But like if you go to the Superama, Comercial Mexicana, those types, usually it's packaged in a case.
And pro tip, this is my personal opinion, but don't go to Walmart in Mexico. Go to Chedraui
Chedraui
in Playa del Carmen. Definitely go to Chedraui.
No context. Don't go to Walmart.
No context. Trust me.
Yeah, that was big COVID then, and they were restricting the number of people who could go in. We had some little battles over that, right? But
well, it was Christmas Eve, and I think they were worried people were gonna like storm the store or take the stuff, so they make you like stand on the circle as you're progressing in the line, and then when we got up to the front, they would only let one of us in, which was
One
me.
person per household.
And so then Melissa, Mike, Sam, and Caroline. Where were you, Scott?
I snuck in, so I got into.
Because he doesn't look like all of us, so he was at the back of our little line. So
anyway, they had to wait outside, fighting with the guy.
Well, it was so sad.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Caroline.
No, you go.
Well, so there was this one mom, and she had two little girls that were like, I don't know, 11 and 12. And she can't just leave her little girls outside the store while she goes in, but they wouldn't let her go in with her girls. So she like sent one of her girls in with a cart, and then was gonna like a couple minutes later try to get in, but they like didn't let her in. So then one of her girls was stranded in Walmart while she was stranded outside of Walmart with her other girl, and it was just a horrible mess. And these people at Walmart didn't have any compassion for this lady. So
yeah, that's traumatic. That's when you got to step in and say, look, I'll watch your children. I promise I'll stay right here. Go get
I almost said that, but it was too late. She had already sent her daughter in. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway, that was the Walmart experience.
Yeah.
It's normally not like that, though, is it?
No, that was just
later,
COVID. And
later that day, was it later that day or the next day, Christmas, we went to Chedraui and we didn't have any problem. So
Chedraui, that's the one to go to.
Yeah, fewer problems there. And again, this was big COVID, so kind of crazy.
And the beach, so they've got lots of tourists, lots of people, lots of crazy.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So yeah, the grocery store. We went to some nice restaurants, though. We also went to a few activities. What did we do outside of the beach and Playa del Carmen restaurants? I'm trying to remember. Explore.
Yeah, we went to explore.
What are your thoughts on that, Mike? What is it?
Yeah, that was awesome. It's zip line adventure park, going in some caves, some I don't know, just like a little water experience. Bit of everything. It seems like, you have like a buffet. You get to ride some 4-wheelers on some dirt roads and zip lines, and yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Was fun, and it's kind of expensive, but the buffet is included, and it's all you can eat. So it's a good opportunity if you haven't tried food, but you don't dare to order it off the menu. You can try new stuff there, and it's good.
Yeah,
the zip line was pretty amazing too. They have big zip lines.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, and they're long zip lines too. They're coming from other places, around the U.S. It's it's kind of a shorter experience compared to what you haven't explored there.
So what about, we also went to some archaeological sites, right, Mike? Do you remember those?
Yeah, I remember. I think the first one we went to, the whole parking lot was flooded. It seemed like I think it rained either the day before or that morning, and
where was that? What was that one? That was Coba, wasn't it?
Yeah, Coba was the first one we went to, and then Tulum.
Yeah. And it was really cool. I mean, you walk in there and you would never guess there's artifacts or a site there, because there's so many trees in there, so densely packed together that like you could honestly just like turn a corner and keep walking somewhere and you could probably find something that nobody's ever found before. And yeah, it was really cool. We hopped on some bikes and then rode a little bit further deep into the forest and saw some other sites there, and that was pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that was neat.
So that was fun, your first experience there. But then you also went to Puerto Vallarta and then Mexico City. How did Puerto Vallarta compare with Cancun and Playa del Carmen?
Puerto Vallarta was great as well. We're on the West Coast, and the water is a little bit colder over there on that side, and we stayed a little bit more so in the hotel, kind of by the airport, and we spent a few days like in the main part of the city, walking around some sites and explored a little bit there. We took a ferry over to part of across the bay and had a little experience there, and that was great as well. And Mexico City is just a huge, massive city. I mean, it's hard to compare that to Playa del Carmen and Puerto Vallarta. Obviously, there's no beach there, and the culture is also different as well. I mean, when you're on the beach, you kind of have more the businesses and the kind of the industries around there are centered more on tourist. And Mexico City is just, there's lots of people, and there's a big melting pot as well. Lots of different cultures there.
And if you thought the traffic was crazy in Cancun, then what about Mexico City?
Yeah, Mexico City, I will never drive a car in Mexico. It's just.
Oh, you would if you had to. I did.
I had to.
You
Yeah,
would.
my stress levels. It was just, even just being in the car, it's like, oh man, like everyone's honking and people are just, yeah, it's chaotic, but you got to do it. You got to kind of inch your way in there somehow.
Melissa and Caroline have both driven in Mexico City.
True.
Not
Not for
in
very
the-
long.
Yeah, not in the kind of traffic that we're describing, though.
You did it
Best
though.
day, just drive on Sunday morning early, because then nobody's on the roads, and then you can practice. You just have to look out for those big potholes, like that last time we were there, and there was that huge pothole that was literally huge.
Yeah, the cone in front of
And
it.
they put like a huge cone in it, but if a car went down in that, it's not going to recover. It's not coming out. Remember?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember even just kind of exploring from like Mexico City out to like on the outskirts of Mexico City. And it's really interesting how like the roads evolve, and, you know, they're still building a lot, you know, tunnels and bridges and expanding there. And yeah, it's still growing out there.
And trams. Remember how they've got those gondola things now, like a people mover to go across the main freeway from village to village out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was neat when we drove out to Teotihuacan. So, yeah, big urban environment, Mexico City. What about the food in Mexico City? What were your thoughts?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, you really can't go wrong with food there. I was never worried about food poisoning or getting a bad meal. I knew it was going to be a good time no matter what I ordered. I don't remember ever having a bad meal. And yeah, I think all around the restaurants were great. You know, even not having as much traditional Mexican food, even having like steak and fries, and even going to like Shake Shack one time. I mean, you can get anything that you want there as you can in America.
And we didn't even pay you to say that. Maybe you're feeling pressure as the son-in-law. I don't know.
No, not at all. Yeah, I mean, we had steak in several places, and I wasn't worried at all, and it was fantastic and probably better than what you'll get in America most of the time. I mean, it's a big cultural hub and a big melting pot, Mexico City, so you get lots of people from Europe and other parts of the world, and so yeah, it kind of just makes it a place where that kind of stuff can live, can thrive. So
If
And
you
it-
could eat, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Melissa.
if you could eat one meal right now from any restaurant in Mexico City, which one would you pick?
Oh man, I'm kind of feeling the Puerto Madero. That was pretty good. That sounds pretty good right now. The steak restaurant is Argentine.
The octopus. Didn't we get octopus there? I think we did.
No.
I'm not sure if it was there.
No?
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay.
That was the one where we got a whole tray of meat,
Yeah.
bunch
Oh.
of different kinds of meat.
Yeah. And we got those little poofy potato things.
Oh, yeah.
Remember those?
But even like 50 Friends pizza, I mean, even the pizza there, it's not like, it's still really good. I mean, you wouldn't expect pizza in Mexico to be like that great, but it's awesome.
Sam loves that. That's his favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was good.
Mhm.
And we got some tacos at El Califa. So, that was
yeah.
all. Yeah. So maybe just one last question before we wrap this up. We also went to some historical sites in Mexico City. What were your thoughts about the places we went? We went to the castle, we went to the Zocalo down there, the cathedral, we went out to Teotihuacan. What were your thoughts on those places?
Yeah, the Zocalo was really cool. Just this big, grand center of the city kind of courtyard, and just kind of walking around there and seeing, you got a lot of people that are kind of building businesses around tourists, and they'll dress up. And Sam was lucky enough to get a blessing, and so hopefully that's still in effect.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was great. And then even going on the outskirts and even some of the temples, and I mean, they're vast size, and so you spend a lot of time walking, and they're just really big, artifacts, and you could spend a lot of time there. But yeah, we had a good experience there, I'd say.
Well, I'm glad you had a good time, Mike. That's it's fun to hear. So you can survive as a first-time visitor to Mexico, though it probably helps having a wife who lived there for 7 years, no?
Yeah, definitely. And one last thing I would say that, is pretty normal for people that are in Mexico, but kind of different than Americans, are the tipping culture. I remember even when we were in Mexico City, we were up in the mountains at one time, and somebody wanted a tip to help us guide us out of the parking lot. And I was like, man, these people will ask a tip for anything, anything that they can help you with, or like finding a parking spot. They want
Backing out of a parking spot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And they want a tip. Yeah.
you get the guy whistling, right, as he guides you out.
Mhm.
Well, you get the guy who puts the cone down, like, I own this spot, this
Yeah.
parking spot. So to park there safely without him destroying your car, then you give him 10
Yeah, there's
pesos.
actually a term for that. I'm trying to remember what those guys are called that are like the street parking dudes that sort of like control where you can park and charge you money for that. And I can't remember, there's actually a term for those guys, but
I mean, you don't have to pay him, but you run a risk if you don't. So just pay him the 10 pesos or
Mhm.
whatever.
yeah. Yeah, and again, it's a place where there's a lot of people who are living on very low incomes and amounts of money and trying to scratch by. And I think that's even more the case now with COVID and everything. So you have a little bit more of that culture, but
Yeah, so if you can help out a little somewhere, it's a good idea.
that's right. All right. Well, Mike, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. It's great to hear your impressions of first time to Mexico. I've been there 3 times now, and I don't know, when's the next trip planned? You got something coming up? Melissa?
And yeah, maybe
Not at the moment, no.
We need to plan something.
That's right. We need to plan another trip down there. So, all right. So we'll just finish on this. So our next trip to Mexico, where would it be? Quick. Lightning round.
San Miguel de Allende.
Okay.
I second that.
Ooh,
No,
that's a good one.
Where, Sam?
the beach.
Which beach? Come on. Lightning round.
Akumal. Turtles.
Well, Melissa said San Miguel too. Caroline?
I want to try Mazatlan again, but no jellyfish this time.
That's a good one. Very, very interesting. Mike.
I would either say San Miguel because I know that's Melissa's favorite part in the whole world, or Cabo. Never been
Cabo's a good, yeah.
Yep, those are all good.
I kind of
What
think
about you, Jen?
I'm with you, Mike. I'm thinking Cabo. Let's do Cabo.
there. Yeah.
Okay, Scott, sign us up. You pay.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that's it for our episode. Again, thanks, Mike, for joining us. Great to have you on. First guest on Mexico Revealed, and hopefully we'll get you down to Mexico again sometime soon. But again, thanks for joining us. To our listeners, remember to check us out on mexicorevealed.com, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of your traditional platforms. Check out our bonus content on mexicorevealed.com, and be sure and leave us a comment and share it with your friends. So looking forward to the next time. But everybody, take care. Adios.
Adios.